spent about 35 minutes roasting, toasting, whatever you want to call it, the corn. And you see how nice and toasty that is and brown that is? Look at that. Now that's got that roasty, toasty flavor, which is what the makeup of this soup needs to have, okay? And here's what the bacon looks like that we rendered also in that little pie pan. And that turned out pretty much just like the bacon I got over here that I pre-rendered earlier today, okay? So we're going to put this aside because we have enough bacon in the soup already. And we're going to add the mushrooms to the sauteed veg. I want to show you what we got here now. We got again, we got the bacon fat, the bacon, onions, red pepper, a little bit of thyme, a little pinch of salt and pepper. Now we're going to add the mushrooms to it. And we're going to add most of this corn to it right now. As you would imagine, the toastiness of this corn is going to come up in the soup. One of the interesting things about this soup also is that it's good when you first make it, and it gets better as it sits around. The only problem with it sitting around is that the soup can have a tendency to, some of the colors in the soup might degenerate on you a little bit, so you want to be careful how much you have it sitting around. Or you add your okra at the very end, just before you serve it, you know. And we're going to talk about the problems that people have with okra. We're going to blanch some okra for the soup here in a minute while this is starting to cook. And the problems that people are having with okra, which are mainly the sliminess, if you will. And then I'm going to talk to you about how to de-slime your okra if you'd like to do that. Now, let me give this a mix. This soup, by the way, is moderately simple and easy to make, and it always turns out really good, which is nice. It's one of those kind of formulas. There's something about these ingredients together that just tastes good. It's really hard to screw this up, is what I'm trying to say. All right, we're giving that a little mix. Now we're going to add the garlic, which is consistent with the prescription that I have in the ingredient list. And we're going to give that a quick mix. And now we're going to add the chicken stock. And I said your ingredient list calls for chicken stock and or brown stock. You can use a little bit of both, or you can use all white. Typically, you can use all brown, but I don't recommend it. A little bit of brown is good, but I don't think all brown is good for this soup. It tends to look too dark, you know. I'm going to put some white stock in there. And I'm going to show you the proportions here of what I have. Because just like the country clam chowder and all chowders, you need to be cognizant of the proportion of food per ounce of liquid. Remember, chowder is food in a broth, basically. But you don't want it to look like corn stew with a little liquid, and you don't want it to look like consomme or something like that, or bouillon with a little bit of food in it. So you want to find that perfect balance. Let me just show you. And I need a ladle over here too, Louis. And the amount of food for the amount of liquid that we have here, okay? We're going to let that simmer for a few minutes. Meanwhile, we're going to blanch the okra. Thank you, sir. I've got some whole, fresh okra here, which is probably the best way to show you how to handle this product. Now, first we're going to do is we're going to shock it in boiling salted water, which is what I have right here boiling. And as soon as it gets a little bit green, we're going to take it off. Now, the amount of red pepper, the amount of bacon, the amount of cream, the amount of okra, they're all relative to a little bit about how much you want, but stay with my formula. I think it's a good idea. Now, we're going to time-elapse this for about 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes while the okra blanches, and we'll be right back in a second to finish that off and shock it in the ice water. This is boiling, and I have some ice water here. And our soup, by the way, is kind of at a pretty high simmer back here, moving right along. That's good. All right, let's get the okra out. See how nice and green that is? You shock it in the ice water. Okay. Cool. Now, what happened to my French knife, Louis? I brought it over there. We're going to slice the ochre up, and if you want it de-slimed, you simply let it sit under cold running water until it kind of de-slimes. It's not going to completely de-slime, but it will mainly de-slime. And all I'm going to do is put it back in the ice water here for a second, because I like it a little bit de-slimed, but one of the qualities of the ochre is the slime. I'm sorry to put it quite like that. It kind of doesn't go together, quality and slime, but that's the way it works. We'll cut the ends off. Every time I see okra, I think of okra Christmas candy for some reason. You know? And you can leave the ends on if you want. I'm looking for that perfect look. Good. Stick it back in there. And let's just quick slice the rest of it up. I have a tendency to want to do things 3 and 4 at a time. I'm the only guy I know that can slice 2 to 3 mushrooms at one time. Now, if you're going to make fried okra, of course, you do the same thing. You blanch it, but then you just leave these whole, batter them, and fry them. And that's another neat thing to do with this, of course. But that's in the frying and grilling session, I believe. Oop. And there's our last piece there. Okay. All right, now I'm going to take the soup, which has been simmering for what? Since you've been watching it on this particular take. We're going to take it. And first I want you to see the proportion of food to liquid. Right now it looks heavy on the food, but we're going to be thinning it out with a pinch of cream. And if necessary, I add a little bit more stock to it. Unlike the thickened soups like the creams and the bisques, the finishing process on chowders never includes adding whole butter to it. If you did, the butter would just separate in the soup and you'd have a sheet of fat sitting on the top of the soup, which wouldn't be helpful at all. All right, so we'll take the okra along with some of the ice, as it turns out, and that's okay. The soup's a little bit thick. You know, one of the things I do, and I think in the stock and sauce class we covered this, and that was the whole process of chilling down the foods by adding ice to it. A lot of times I'll over-reduce the stock or soup if I want to chill it down and store it, and then just put ice in it to chill it down rather than recess it into ice water bath to chill it over a period of time. Just throw ice in it and dilute the concentrated nature of the stock or soup in the process of cooling it down at the same time.